Two girls were riding their scooters to the store to buy some snacks. But what started as a simple trip turned dark, with shocking details emerging over the years. Full of unexpected twists in this story, some of which are almost unbelievable, with a surprising ending. Michaela GCT was born on January 24, 1979, in Oakland, California. She was the first child her parents had been hoping for after 5 years of trying. And later, they had two more children. The family moved to a quieter town called Hayward, a peaceful place for their growing family. Michaela was a typical cheerful child, enjoying time with her siblings and best friend, Katrina. The two girls actually lived across from each other, so they frequently visited and played near their homes. On November 19, 1988, when Michaela was 9 years old, she and Katrina were running back and forth between their houses trying on different outfits for a school performance. It was a fun day, marking the start of the Thanksgiving holiday. Around 10 a.m. that morning, Katrina's father gave her $5 to buy some candy. Excited, the girls ran to Michaela's house to ask her mother if they could go to the nearby store, less than a mile away. Michaela's mother was hesitant about letting them go because both girls were only 9 and had never been to the store alone before, even though they had visited many times with family or an older neighbor. After some argument, Michaela's mother agreed, with the condition that they buy candy and head straight home afterward. She was especially worried about Michaela's safety, as Michaela was the long-awaited first child, a real miracle for her parents. That day, Michaela's mother thought nothing bad would happen as the store was just a short distance away, and the girls planned to ride their scooters there. Michaela rushed back to Katrina's house, and they decided to use their scooters for the trip. Katrina grabbed her scooter and borrowed another one from her brother. They went to the store and left their scooters nearby as they went inside to shop. When they came out, they were caught up in conversation and forgot their scooters. They started walking home but quickly realized their mistake and turned back to look for the scooters. At that point, Michaela noticed her scooter next to a car parked just a few meters from the store. She approached to grab it, but suddenly, Katrina heard a terrifying scream. Katrina ran over and saw a man grabbing Michaela, forcing her into a car right next to the scooter. The man quickly jumped into the driver's seat and sped off, leaving Katrina in shock. Panicked, Katrina rushed into the store and told the cashier what had just happened. The store clerk immediately called the police and informed Michaela's father, who often stopped by the store. Michaela's father and Katrina's father rushed to the scene, where the police were already present. Meanwhile, Michaela's mother was instructed to stay home in case the police called. Detectives immediately faced several challenges. There were no surveillance cameras near the store, and the only witness, Katrina, was in such a state of shock that she could barely provide any useful information. After being allowed to, Katrina's father took her home to help her calm down. The first clue came from the cashier. She recalled seeing a suspicious man loitering around the store before the kidnapping occurred. He had parked outside but never entered. Instead, he walked along the building, peering through the windows as though watching someone. According to her description, he was a white man, around 30 years old, with a prominent mustache, driving an old chestnut-colored car. However, the type of car and license plate were still unclear. Based on the information gathered, the police created a composite sketch of the kidnapper and shared it with the media. News of the incident quickly spread throughout the city and even beyond local borders. The entire community was shocked that such a bold act could take place so close to a busy area in town. The police quickly circulated the composite sketch and the description of the suspect's car to hundreds of patrol officers across the county. The patrol teams began stopping and checking any vehicles that matched the description, hoping to find Michaela alive. Meanwhile, detectives handed Michaela's scooter over to forensic experts for analysis. They believed that the kidnapper had seen Michaela and Katrina go to the store and then deliberately moved one of the scooters near the back of his car to facilitate the abduction. This theory was supported when forensics found an unfamiliar fingerprint on Michaela's scooter, which did not belong to anyone in her family or Katrina's. However, the fingerprint was just one piece of the puzzle, making it difficult to cross-check against the database. The technology at the time was not advanced enough to provide an accurate analysis, so the police had to conduct direct comparisons with potential suspects. On the evening Michaela was kidnapped, the FBI joined the investigation after noticing an increase in child disappearances not only in Hayward but also in nearby cities. They suspected Michaela's case could be linked to other disappearances. Despite the FBI's involvement and the widespread media attention, the search for Michaela made little progress. Michaela's parents were devastated. Her mother blamed herself for letting Michaela go out that day. She also recalled a strange incident just a week before the abduction. One morning, Michaela woke up unusually early, sat at the kitchen table, and said she was writing a poem. This surprised her mother because Michaela wasn't known to wake up early. When asked, Michaela explained that she had been woken by a sound in the attic and felt inspired to write about people who were kidnapped and held captive by bad people but not killed. At the time, Michaela's mother thought it was just the imagination of a child. But after the kidnapping, Michaela's words took on an eerie, almost prophetic meaning. She couldn't stop wondering if Michaela had unintentionally predicted her own fate just days before the incident. After the abduction, the police worked tirelessly to track down the suspect and Michaela. However, they faced many challenges and, despite their efforts, they hadn't made any significant progress in finding her. Realizing they needed more clues, they decided to revisit Katrina, hoping she could provide new information. However, an inexplicable development occurred. Katrina, the direct witness to the kidnapping, and the cashier, who had observed the suspicious behavior of a man outside the store, gave entirely different descriptions of the abductor. According to Katrina, the kidnapper appeared to be around 20 years old, with messy, light-colored shoulder-length hair, acne on his face, and green eyes that reminded her of a fox's eyes. She also remembered his car as a beige, boxy convertible with many dents. In contrast, the cashier described a man around 30 years old, with a mustache and suspicious behavior outside the store. Realizing that the cashier's original description might have been wrong, the detectives now faced a major problem. They had distributed an inaccurate sketch of the suspect through the media, and the patrolling officers were searching for a completely different person. This confusion occurred during the first 48 hours, the most critical period for resolving the case quickly. Based on Katrina's description, a new composite sketch was created and redistributed. Additionally, the police began interviewing all men in the area with a history of sexual offenses. Thousands of volunteers joined the search efforts, going door to door, interviewing residents in the hope that someone might recognize the kidnapper or provide relevant information. In the first few days, an impressive 42,000 flyers with Michaela's picture and case details were distributed. After several days of effort, the police received their first promising lead. A significant clue came from 3 hikers who contacted the police to report their discovery in a vast national park near the city. During their hike, they noticed footprints on the ground, one set belonging to an adult and another smaller set, which seemed to belong to a child. Using their experience, they decided to follow the tracks and eventually discovered a blanket and an empty fast food wrapper in the forest. The police considered the possibility that these traces might be related to Michaela and her abductor. A psychological profile created by FBI experts indicated that the kidnapper may have taken the victim to a remote location, as far from civilization as possible, given the vast size of the park and its proximity to the city. This theory seemed plausible. Immediately, detectives mobilized all available resources to search the park. Ground teams conducted searches while helicopters equipped with thermal imaging scanners surveyed from above. However, all efforts were in vain. They found neither Michaela nor any other evidence. Refusing to give up, the police expanded their search to other parks, mountains, and remote locations. Yet, every path led to a dead end. Alongside the search efforts, the police received an overwhelming amount of information from the public. In the first month alone, around 4,000 tips were submitted. However, handling and verifying each lead was a major challenge for the investigators. The case quickly became a hot topic widely discussed not only in San Francisco but also in neighboring cities. Many celebrities joined the effort, urging the public to provide any useful information to the police. A substantial reward of $70,000 was offered to encourage people to come forward. Michaela's image was posted everywhere, from the media to posters around street corners, in the hope that someone might recognize her or the kidnapper. Michaela's image even appeared on millions of milk cartons across the state. Despite widespread community involvement and numerous reported tips, detectives still made no significant progress. By the end of December, a month and a half after the kidnapping, the police had to admit that the only accomplishment they had was processing thousands of tips without any breakthroughs. In the months that followed, the police continued to receive more information, but all of it led to dead ends. Even Michaela's mother took matters into her own hands, researching similar cases of disappearances and trying to identify the possible perpetrator who may have kidnapped her daughter. Everyone hoped that Michaela was still alive and being held somewhere. In 1991, detectives turned their attention to a 43-year-old man named Timothy Binder. And the more they investigated, the more unsettling things they uncovered. Binder had been a subject of police interest even before Michaela's abduction due to his strange behavior. He had sent gifts, letters, and money to several young girls, some of which contained Bible verses with phrases like, "I have chosen you," and "Be with me." Binder's behavior alarmed many parents, prompting them to report his actions to the police. During an interrogation, Binder claimed that he simply wanted to be friends with these young girls because he thought they were lonely. However, the investigation revealed a troubling history. In 1985, Binder had been fired from his job at a child protective agency in Colorado for gathering personal information about young girls and sending them gifts and letters. When police searched Binder's truck, they found numerous photos of children, along with Bible verses decorated inside the vehicle. Binder had also been arrested for attempting to lure two girls into his truck, although no charges were filed. Even more disturbing, he frequently visited the graves of young girls at a local cemetery, spending unusual amounts of time there. The situation became more troubling when another missing persons case occurred 6 months before Michaela's abduction. A 7-year-old girl named Amber had disappeared in the area. After Amber went missing, Binder contacted her mother, offering help and visiting her home frequently. What was even more concerning was that he wrote a letter to the police, suggesting that the next victim would be a 9-year-old girl. A few months later, Michaela, then 9 years old, was abducted. After Michaela's disappearance, Binder repeatedly called and visited her mother's house, offering assistance, but his behavior became increasingly suspicious. In early December 1988, Binder sent a Christmas card to an FBI analyst he had corresponded with earlier. The card featured a picture of a girl holding up 4 fingers. Shortly afterward, a 4-year-old girl went missing in the same town. While these disturbing details were only indirect evidence, detectives obtained a search warrant for Binder's home, where he lived with his wife. Unfortunately, they found no concrete evidence linking him to the kidnappings. As information about Binder's strange behavior became public, the community began to suspect him of being a serial killer. This led to harassment and attacks on his family. Binder subsequently sued the city for spreading false information and won the lawsuit. Despite months of investigation, detectives could not find clear evidence to charge him. Some detectives believed Binder's odd behavior was unrelated to the cases and that he did not pose a threat to children. Ultimately, the police decided to focus on other potential suspects. A significant lead surfaced in December 1992, 4 years after Michaela's disappearance. An inmate in Indiana, serving a sentence for robbery, contacted the police, claiming to know the identity of Michaela's kidnapper. He also stated that he had helped bury her body in the park where the initial footprints had been found. Initially, investigators were skeptical, but the inmate wrote a letter to a major San Francisco newspaper, making the story public. Under pressure from public opinion, the police decided to interview the inmate. He promised not only to reveal the location where Michaela was buried, but also to lead them to the killer. The inmate was later transferred to California to cooperate with the investigation. The police began searching for Michaela's body based on the inmate's statement, which suggested she had been buried in a field of gladiolus flowers. The search lasted 8 hours, but ended abruptly when the inmate confessed that he had fabricated the entire story. He claimed he wanted to comfort Michaela's family, but his actions only caused further pain. The inmate was given an additional 6.5 years in prison and was ordered to pay $6,000 in restitution to the victim's family. In 2000, Curtis Anderson, a suspect in the murder of a 7-year-old girl in Vallejo, became the focus of the investigation. Curtis confessed to killing 13 girls and women, including Amber, the girl who went missing just 6 months before Michaela. He provided many reliable details, but there was no physical evidence linking Curtis to Michaela's case. Before the FBI could conduct further interrogations, Curtis died in 2012, taking many secrets to the grave. Loren Herzog, a member of the notorious Valley Killers duo, and his accomplice Wesley Shermantine were suspected of having murdered 19 victims. A prisoner had reported that Herzog resembled the composite sketch of Michaela's kidnapper. However, after investigation, no direct evidence linked Herzog to Michaela's case. Herzog passed away in 2012, leaving many unanswered questions. Despite extensive investigations into Herzog and other potential suspects, including assistance from the FBI, Michaela's case remained unsolved. The composite sketch of the kidnapper, though adjusted according to Katrina's description, did not lead to any significant breakthroughs. Despite the ongoing efforts of the community, police, and Michaela's family, Michaela was never found, and the case remained a large mystery. Michaela's family, though devastated, continued to hope for clarity on her fate. Herzog's accomplice, Wesley Shermantine, had cooperated with the police, but Herzog committed suicide in prison before further clarification could be made regarding Michaela's case. A photo of Herzog from his youth bore a strong resemblance to the composite sketch of Michaela's kidnapper, but no concrete evidence tied him to the crime. Police dug up a well where Herzog and Shermantine were believed to have disposed of their victims' bodies, uncovering thousands of bone fragments belonging to 5 other female victims. However, none of these remains matched Michaela's DNA. A significant development occurred in 2018 when David Mitch, a man convicted of killing 2 women in 1986 near the area where Michaela had disappeared, became a new suspect. Using modern DNA analysis, Mitch's fingerprints from previous cases were matched with a partial fingerprint found on Michaela's scooter. The match led detectives to focus on Mitch. Mitch, who had already been incarcerated for the murder of his girlfriend in 1989, was found to have been in the area where Michaela was abducted at the time of the incident. He also owned a vehicle that resembled the one described by Katrina. The fingerprint match helped solidify suspicions. In 2020, David Mitch was formally charged with kidnapping and murdering Michaela. Any hopes that Michaela might still be alive were completely shattered. Mitch denied any involvement in the crime, and the case went to trial in early 2023. In preliminary hearings, the judge determined that there was enough evidence to proceed with the trial. Mitch's defense lawyers attempted to dispute the fingerprint evidence on the scooter, arguing that it was insufficient to link him to the crime. However, this argument was strongly rejected by prosecutors, who argued that the fingerprint could not be coincidental, especially given its direct connection to the abduction. The trial was set for the end of 2023, with hopes that justice would be served for Michaela and her family. Despite taking nearly 35 years to reach this point, Michaela's case was a testament to the perseverance of law enforcement and the support of modern technology. David Mitch was accused of moving Michaela's scooter near the back door of his vehicle, facilitating her abduction. The defense attempted to argue against the murder charges, citing that Michaela's body had never been found. But this argument held little weight in the modern legal system, where many cases are convicted without a victim's body. Mitch's criminal history and the evidence further strengthened the accusations. David Mitch's criminal record revealed troubling patterns. He had been arrested at the age of 16 for breaking into a house and attacking a woman with a knife. After serving 1 year in prison, he was released but continued attempting to assault other women. After another 2 years of imprisonment, Mitch was released in May 1988, just 7 months before Michaela's abduction. During this time, he was arrested for robbing a store and served another year in prison. He was released just 1 month before Michaela disappeared, leading many to question the prison system for inadvertently allowing a dangerous individual back into society. Michaela's father attended the press conference about David's arrest, but her mother, who had always hoped her daughter was still alive, could not attend because she was battling cancer. She passed away shortly after the news was made public. Thanking the investigators for bringing the truth to light, the police are committed to continuing the search for Michaela's remains and have offered a $10,000 reward for any valuable information. David's trial is expected to include 3 cases, Michaela's and 2 other victims whose DNA was found to be his. The prosecutor initially sought the death penalty, but the new prosecutor decided not to pursue it, only recommending a life sentence, which caused outrage among the victim's family and the public. However, at 62 years old and with poor health, David is unlikely to live out the sentence. The earlier decision of the correctional system to release David early despite his criminal history led to tragic consequences. If he hadn't been released just a month before Michaela's abduction, she might still be alive. Thank you for reading. And if you like this story, please share your thoughts and don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Your support is very important. Thank you.